Before we start today's show, I have some exciting news to share. The 10th anniversary edition of the novel I wrote, The Sound of Violet, is now available wherever you buy books. It's a story about a man who thinks he found his soulmate, but his autism keeps him from realizing she's being trafficked. I created this new version to deepen the characters and the emotional experience, and it's been getting terrific reviews. Kirkus Reviews calls it a heartwarming love story with standout characters that readers won't forget. The Book Life Prize says, the prose has the sweet, forward-moving cadence of a great romantic comedy, and readers will swoon. The Sound of Violet 10th Anniversary Edition was named one of the best 100 books of the year by Shelf Unbound magazine, and the novel ranked on Amazon's bestseller list for romantic adaptations. It's official, I'm a best-selling author. You can check it out and find out more at thesoundofviolet.com. Now on to the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Navigating Hollywood podcast. My name is Alan Wolf, and I'm a filmmaker, author, and game creator. Today, I'm talking with actress Sarah Drew. We'll get to find out about her journey as an actor, the ups and downs, and what has brought her to where she is today. Some of you know her from Grey's Anatomy. She's also been featured in a number of significant roles in film and television. And to start us off, I'm going to ask her a question from a get-to-know-you game book that I wrote called You're Pulling My Leg. Sarah, why don't you choose a number and I'll read you a question from that card number.
196.
196. Okay, going for the big numbers. Tell us about a time when you slipped on something.
It was my first professional production. I was playing Juliet at a regional theater. It was the thing that broke my career. Like, that's how everything started. And there was one moment on stage right after I marry Romeo, and I got my dress stuck on his shoe and completely fell on the stage in front of the whole 900 person audience, flat on my face right after a very romantic exchange of vows. And my acting partner, Jeffrey, was like, "Oh, my sweet Juliet." He ad-libbed Shakespeare to get me up off of my feet.
So did people think it was actually part of the performance?
I am sure people knew that was not
okay.
part of the performance.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's awesome. And you said that is what began your career. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I did a musical theater program the summer between my second and third year of college in New York called Cap 21. And at one of they would frequently bring in casting directors and producers and people like that to do master classes with us. And we had a master class with a casting director from Bernie Telsey Casting. It was a really big New York casting office. And I decided in the bathroom that instead of doing two songs, we'd only been working on songs, we hadn't been working on monologues. Instead of doing two songs, I would do a monologue and a song. I just decided in the bathroom. Okay. And then that's the best decision I ever made, because my acting is much stronger than my singing. And the casting director saw something in my monologue and started calling me in for auditions. So during my third year of college, I went in multiple times. I took the train from Charlottesville, Virginia into New York City to audition for these regional theater productions that this casting director brought me in for. And the third one I went in for was Romeo and Juliet. And it was an absolutely extraordinary experience. I was working with Juilliard teachers and Juilliard graduates and a cast of incredible professional artists. And we were reviewed in the New York Times and in Variety. And we were actually, we were supposed to go to Broadway. We had a theater, we were going to go to Broadway. It was kind of that big of a hit. And then 9/11 happened and all these theaters went dark. So we did not get to go to Broadway, but it launched my career. Because of those reviews and that production, I then was fielding calls from agents who were knocking on my door, which is kind of never how it happens.
Wow.
That was a profound gift. And I almost didn't audition for it because it conflicted with the first 5 weeks of my final year of college. And I called and I told casting I wasn't going to audition. And the casting director, who'd really taken me under his wing, called me directly and was like, if I have to drive to Virginia and put you in my car and bring you, I will do that. You have to audition for this. And I have him to thank for everything launching. Yeah.
Now, when 9/11 happened, was there a moment where you thought it's just all over? Did you think this, I mean, that must have been really, I mean, obviously for all of us, it was very shocking and tragic. But I mean, did you think at that point, wow, this is not going to happen?
I wasn't thinking about that at the moment. Like what I was mostly, it was a pretty profound experience. You know, we had just had our first week or our first couple previews or something, and we were just coming back in from a day off. And so a bunch of the cast weren't able to make it. They were still stuck in New York and couldn't make it. We were out in Princeton, New Jersey. So we canceled that Tuesday performance. But when we came back on Wednesday, there was something in the energy, because the show Romeo and Juliet is really about these two families and this like senseless hate between these two families that doesn't make sense and creates agony everywhere, right? And so there was something about having just witnessed this like senseless hate that made the audience gasp and breathe in a different way and mourn in a different new way as right along with us while we were on stage. It was a pretty epic moment of like connection between audience and performers. So that's mainly the thing I was thinking about. You know, it was such a bummer when we didn't get to go to Broadway, but we were so caught up in the profundity of the fact that we were doing this play at this moment when this thing happened. And that we were able to offer something to this audience in the midst of the grief.
Amazing. Well, if you back up before that time, because that you said kind of that launched you, what were the events that happened before that made you think, oh, this might be something that could be a career or something you're really passionate about, that you wanted to pursue, that you have talent at?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't remember a time when this isn't what I wanted to do with my life. It was from my earliest memories are, you know, writing songs and performing them on coffee tables and forcing my parents to buy tickets to my shows in the living room. You know, like it just was, it was so clear. And my parents would describe it as a moment when I was graduating from kindergarten, when we had a little performance and I just got up on stage and it was like I was always meant to be there. And then I was just, you know, my whole childhood, I was doing community theater and school plays. Any opportunity I had to dive in, I did.
Was there a point later where things lined up and you thought, oh, this could legitimately be what I do for a living? You know what I mean? Like the first time you thought, this is real.
I mean, I think it was that production of Romeo and Juliet, because I was in the middle of a drama major at the University of Virginia, and I was getting a lot of encouragement there, getting a lot of cast, you know, being cast a lot, all of those things. But there's no way. I mean, it's such a competitive industry that there's no way for me to know whether I could actually do this for a living. So it was really leaping into this thing, getting cast in that role where I was like, oh, I actually might have a chance to like live my dream, you know? And it's interesting because I also, it's such a crazy business, and it's so hard to keep your feet on the ground. And then there are moments when you feel like you're screaming into a black hole and nobody wants to hire you at all. And that happens even now. I mean, that happens after 20 years in the industry. It's such a fickle business, So I really keep trying to ground myself in the truth that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be in this moment at present right now.
Yeah, that's great. Well, moving forward from that experience, can you tell me about when you first moved out to Los Angeles and just what that transition was like?
Well, it's interesting because I got married a month after graduating from college, and then my husband Peter and I were in New Haven, Connecticut for the first 2 years of my acting career. I was commuting in and out of New York on the train, and he had applied to PhD programs and got into the one at UCLA, and we were like in between. We were homeless in this moment. We had left our apartment in New Haven. We were going to have graduate student housing in UCLA, but we had like 1 billion weddings to go to that summer on the East Coast. So we were literally living out of our car and couch hopping for 3 months when I got cast for my first series regular gig, which shot in Utah. So we made the move across country, and Peter deposited me halfway across in Utah in an apartment and then continued on to California. And then he commuted for like 3 years while I did that show. We bought a house in Utah, and he flew out to LA every Tuesday and then back every Thursday. So that was my first taste of Hollywood, but it was like because it was my first real TV stuff, but it was sort of a soft intro because I wasn't in Hollywood. I was like very secluded and protected in this mountain town with these awesome actors, and we always had dinner together and stuff. And then when that show ended, fully moving to New York, that was a shift. It was mostly a shift for our marriage because we had never lived and worked in the same town. And we'd been together for 5 years at that point.
Wow, that's amazing. And you said that fully shifted after that show ended. What was the name of that show?
It's called Everwood.
Okay. And after that show ended, then that's when you moved to Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that was just like, we bought a house in LA at that point, and I was just in the audition circus, running around, going from thing to thing to thing. I was guest starring all over the place until I landed Grey's Anatomy.
Okay. Tell us about the day that you found out that you were given the offer and you realized that you were going to be a series regular on that show. What was that like?
That was wild because I was brought onto the show just to do 2 episodes, and I was told from the beginning I would only be doing 2 episodes. I didn't actually audition for that. Like Shonda Rhimes offered that to me because I had just done a pilot for her the season before that hadn't gotten picked up. And she's like, come over, play with us for 2 episodes. I knew from the get-go my character was getting fired after the 2nd episode. And so I treated it as like, I'm going to show up and do it as I do all my guest stars, full heart, full commitment, but not attaching myself because I know I'm leaving. And after my 2nd episode, I went off. I did like a couple episodes on Madmen, and I did a Glee. I did a Supernatural, I did a whole bunch of one-offs. And then
is that when you were Kitty, when you played Kitty?
Yeah.
Okay, in Mad Men. Yeah. Okay.
And then on the morning after my firing episode aired, I got a call from my agent saying, so they want to bring you back, and this might become a series regular. And I was like, okay. And then it was that entire rest of that season, I was basically auditioning for the entire season because I was not given a pickup until the summer after that season, about a month before we started shooting season 7.
And for those of you who don't know, what does it mean that you weren't given a pickup?
So that means that basically I was on a track to maybe become a series regular. So like every 3 episodes, I'd get a little pay bump and then another little pay bump. But I would be like scouring every script to be like, how much did they write for me? Are they going to give me something to do so I can show them what I can do? Like every episode was, how can I, you know, make myself invaluable to this community, you know? We wrapped season 6 in April, and I was not told that I had a series regular job on the show until June. And then we started shooting the next season in July. So I had like 3 months while everybody's on hiatus, which is the break that you take when you're on a TV series between seasons, to just go, well, I don't know. I hope they like me. There's a lot of sort of just hanging on and having to surrender, because you can't control anything in this business.
Right. Oh, sure. Now, did you then also go back to Mad Men as well for more episodes?
I feel like I had done some before my episodes on Grey's, and then I went back and did a couple more.
Right.
And then that was it. It was over before the Grey's got picked up.
Right. Okay. And I'm a huge Mad Men fan. I'm sure others are watching too. Can you just talk a little bit about your experience working on that show?
Oh my gosh. That was so amazing. I still don't understand why they didn't expand that relationship. It was so fascinating. My last episode on the show was me realizing that my husband was gay and being like, what am I doing here?
It was like the camera was doing like a push in and your face, you were saying everything with your face.
Yes, in silence, just like my whole life is not what I thought it was.
And then end of character.
End of character. I know, there was nothing else after that, which was so crazy. I was just like, this could be so rich and so juicy, and so many things. And like, what does she do? Does she stay? Does she leave? What's the conflict? Like, does she make the best of it? Like, what, you know? But yeah.
Did you work out any of that in your head, or did you just kind of leave it and you're like, okay, this is.
You mean when playing it?
Yeah. Did you think about what she might do in the future, anything like that as part of?
You always do that. Whenever you're a guest spot, you're like, you could bring me back. I could be a recurring because of this connection to this character. And I could always come. I mean, we actors are always trying to find ways in our imagination to do more than is offered to us. So I'm sure that was there. But at the same time, when you're there shooting on the day, you just remain totally present and in that exact moment. It doesn't help to get ahead of yourself while you're actually shooting the scenes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that scene that we talked about when the camera is kind of pushing in on you and you're having the realization, to me, that really illustrated, I think, how good you are at bringing the inner life of your character to life, that as an audience member that we're able to really experience your conflict and turmoil and just what's going on inside of you. So can you talk a little bit about what it's like for you building up that inner life for your characters?
I think for me, it starts with empathy, right? So empathy for the person I'm playing. So I'm able to enter into the shoes of a villain by getting to the reason why that I can justify, so that I can unconditionally love the character and the choices the character is making. Because people don't do things in life unless they have a reason. That has to be. You just don't do things. And the reason could be super twisted from my perspective, but I have to untwist it in my head in order to approach it without any judgment. So that's really the place that I start. And then I will go over, I do a whole thing if I have like a big arc on an episode or a movie where I write out just where I am, because we shoot totally out of order. So I like to keep track of what happened just before, what's coming up next, and just like a quick like cheat sheet that I can always look at. But inside of that, it's like, where am I in relation to this character, and what has happened, and how do I feel about this person, and what am I trying to do in the scene, right? So then there's that's my preparation, where I really kind of hash the scene out in my head, like this is the direction, this is what I want to play. And then you show up on set, and some of that stuff may totally go out the window, because at that point, after you've done your preparation, once you're there on set looking at your acting partner, you just need to listen and respond. That's what needs to happen. You just need to be reacting to the things that they're offering you, and then giving them something as well. So it's many different facets, but it always begins with unconditional love.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you found that in your life that because you have that view toward characters that helps you to even connect to people more, that maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly, like, if I wasn't an actor, I'd probably be a therapist. Just because I am fascinated by what motivates people and where they come from, and trying to understand their perspective. Like, that's what I love the most about human interaction. So, yeah, I think it does, like, being in the practice of unconditionally loving every character that I have to play allows me to then offer unconditional love and empathy. Not always. I mean, I certainly fail at that many times, but that, it definitely helps in that regard, I think.
Well, as you look back, you've played many different roles. Are there favorites that you have that you really connected to?
I will say that Romeo and Juliet I don't know that anything will ever top that experience. And I think that has something to do with the moment in life that I was in. My husband proposed to me after opening night of that show. Like, I was finishing college. I was a baby in so many ways. I just recently found my journal that I kept during the show, because my professors at UVA allowed me to do it as an independent study and get 3 credits for it, just as long as I kept a journal. And I journaled every day of that experience, and I learned so much. My artist brain was exploding and flying on all cylinders, and shifting and changing and growing. And I've never had an experience like that since. I've had a lot of great experiences, but not like that.
Yeah, you've worked on some just shows that have an important place just in our pop culture, that shows that a lot of people are watching, talking about. Can you talk about a favorite memory when you're working on Glee?
I like that whole thing was so much fun, because she was such a wackadoo character. And I loved the like weirdness of her wardrobe, and the creepiness of her obsession, and getting into the mind of someone who like fully committed to this crush in an epic way. And like, I loved every piece of it. And the other thing that was kind of fun about it is that I did that show first season before it had even aired. So none of those kids were the Beatles yet. Like, they were not, nobody was famous yet. It was a group of fun kids who were just so psyched to get to do this thing. And it was episode 9. I think I did episode 9 of the show. And like, they were so wide open and delighted and grateful and excited. And so the energy on set was just so wonderful. It was great.
And what about Everwood? Are there a favorite experience that you can think of from your time on Everwood?
I that had a lot of favorite experiences. I mean, I think the most special aspect about being on that show was how close I was able to get with the cast, because it was this little transplanted group of actors living in the mountains together, you know? So we didn't have the craziness of the industry and all of that stuff clouding anything for us. We were just there having fun and being together. And like, I learned how to ski while I was there. Oh my God, it was just so beautiful. I do remember like one scene in particular. I had to shoot a scene where I got food poisoning, and we were shooting, and it was like 10 below. It was freezing cold, but I had to strip all of my clothes off because I was getting hives and getting overheated. So that was an interesting thing to try to
Wow.
play in the freezing cold.
Wow. Well, if you could go back and give advice to yourself at any point in your career, what time period would you go back to, and what would you say to yourself?
It's so funny because my therapist just asked me to write myself from my 30-something-year-old self, to write my 20-year-old self a letter, and then from my 20-year-old self write my current self a letter. So
Wow.
I've just done this exercise, and what was interesting is I just did it after reading this like journal that I had kept when I was 20 and when all these things were happening. And there was like one very specific moment that jumped out at me in reading the journal. I had a group of 24 students from UVA take a road trip to come see me in Romeo and Juliet in Princeton. And they sat in the balcony and they did like the UVA chant from the balcony when we came out for curtain call. And when I came out to see them afterwards, after they had taken this epic drive to come see me and find places to stay and whatever, they gave me this card, and I describe it in my journal as like, the card is full of "we love you, we miss you," not "you're so amazing, I can't believe how phenomenal you are." Mm-hmm. It was "we love you, we miss you. We love you, we miss you." And I'm writing, my little 20-year-old self is writing in this journal like, this is what I want to hang on to. I want to hang on. I don't want to get swept away by trying to impress people or by getting the next gig so that I can be successful. I want to stay focused on loving people and being loved. And that needs to be the core always. And that needs to be the driving force anytime I do a project. How do I love these characters? How do I love the audience through the telling of this story? So my letter to my 20-year-old self would be like, keep that fire alive. Like, return to that truth and that ultimate vision and drive. Even if it has to become a practice, but you must return to it. Otherwise, this industry will eat you alive and you will never feel like you're enough.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this interview is sponsored by Navigating Hollywood, which equips and empowers entertainment professionals to live relationally and spiritually holistic lives. They offer pre-marriage courses, marriage courses, and the Alpha Hollywood course, which is where people in entertainment can explore life, faith, and meaning. It's an open, informal, and honest space where you can explore some of life's biggest questions. All backgrounds are represented, all questions are welcomed. Alpha is for entertainment professionals, hosted by entertainment professionals. If you work in media, you can check out what Navigating Hollywood has to offer at navigatinghollywood.org. Again, that's navigatinghollywood.org. Now, Sarah, I just talked about life's big questions and faith. Would you describe yourself as a person of faith?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's the grounding. My faith is my grounding force in my life. I think it would be a lot harder if in this industry if I did not have my faith to hold on to. That's for sure.
Mm. And how has that impacted like decisions that you've made? I mean, what does that look like, especially just working as an actress in this industry?
I mean, there are a lot of. First of all, it's given me a sense of peace, in the midst of the crazy ups and downs of what this industry is. Like, you know, I've turned down jobs, I've turned down roles, or I've turned down auditions because I'm like, I'm not sure that there's anything that I want to put out into the world that I think is going to ultimately benefit an audience, in any way that's positive or that's heart expanding or makes people laugh or cry or think in a new way. Right. So I think for me, choosing roles and choosing projects is mixed up with my value system that's grounded in my faith. I think knowing that I can say no, and that I know for sure that I'm being held by something greater than myself, it allows me to not kind of go down the desperation train, which is so easy to do. I mean, especially now with social media and with like, we are not meant to have the kind of feedback that we get in social media. We're meant to get feedback from a small community of humans that we're in relationship with. We are not meant to hear 400,000 people's opinions of what you look like or how angry they are at you or whether they hate you or love you. Like it's an overload. So for me, grounding myself in my faith ultimately as a child of God and my identity as a child of God first, and then a wife and mother, and then a friend before I even kind of get to the actress piece, allows me to receive that feedback but not let it hit. And I will say it's a daily struggle. It's not like, oh, I have X amount of faith, so therefore I'm not going to be affected when someone screams at me on Twitter, or tells me I'm the most hideous thing they've ever seen, or whatever. I'm human, obviously, but I do think that knowing that I have that sort of foundation and rock to keep returning to, when the waves are slapping me around and the wind is slapping me around, and knowing that my identity is beyond my success in this industry, it's the only way I could survive. From my perspective, it's the only way I could survive this industry. That's for sure.
Well, I find it interesting that you said that you show your characters unconditional love. And it sounds like you live in that unconditional love yourself. I mean, you in your life exist in that space that you then use to help your own characters come alive and connect with them.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I were to look at it like, the way that I look at my children, I have this like undying, unconditional love for them. They don't have to perform in any way or be successful in any way for me to love them. Right. So because we have so much feedback as actors and celebrities in this industry, you could very easily start to go, okay, you liked me, but you didn't. And then you liked me. And so like, am I actually lovable? I don't know, because I'm getting mixed messages and it's overwhelming. But because of this like parental, which is how I would describe like the love of God to me, this unconditional kind of parental love, I can lock back into that and be like, doesn't matter what all of those people say. It doesn't matter if I get that job or not. I am loved, period. End of story. Just because I am, and just because I was beautifully and wonderfully made. And I can understand that because I'm doing that with my kids. Like I see that, but the love that I feel is even bigger, So it is a very comforting thing for sure.
Yeah. I just want to let that soak in because it's something that I think we all need to remind ourselves of. I mean, as you've been living through your life and your career, are there times where you thought, oh, that was God, like something happened or something you experienced? And
Oh yeah. I remember this one time early in my career, I had been unemployed for like 9 months. I hadn't gotten a job, and I finally got a job. I got an offer to do a play that I had felt from the beginning. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't think this does that thing that I described before, which is like offer something positive to the audience. And I was sure about that. But I was in the middle, and we were like cash poor, and like, my husband was in graduate school. I had not worked in 9 months. I had barely started my career. We did not have money. And I turned it down because I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. And it was literally 2 days later, I booked my first guest spot on a television show, which was this hilarious show that only went for a couple episodes called Wonderfalls. It was my first guest spot, playing a very weird character, but it was delightful and fun. And because I was working so much overtime on that episode, I made enough money to get SAG insurance. And that last check came in on December 31st. I was able to be insured for the entire next year. And that like cushion of money. And the thing that I turned down was a play that would have made a fraction of it. So it was like the provision that came from kind of going, I got to listen to my gut here. Because I don't think I should do this, And I have a lot of stories like that. I mean, I have felt God's presence beside me, in front of me, behind me, around me, every step of the way.
That's amazing. That's great. Well, as you look back on your career, is there something that you think of that you think, yeah, I would put that at the top of one of the most valuable things I've learned as an actor?
Yeah. Okay. It was actually my first movie. First time on set. I was playing Ed Harris's daughter in a movie called Radio. And I had this crying scene that I had to do. And I came from theater, had never stepped foot on a film set. And what I do in my process is I show up to every rehearsal as if the audience is already sitting in the audience. It's like, if we're going to rehearse it and figure out what this scene is, I'm going to give it my all. So I came to the rehearsal for this scene fully giving it my all, right? There was another actor on set that came up to me, was like, honey, you really need to learn how to like pull it back and like only give it when the camera's on you, because otherwise you're going to use up all your emotion when the camera's not even on you, and then you won't look as good. And I was like, okay. And then Ed Harris comes up to me and he goes, that's bull. He goes, I do my best work off camera. And if you are not giving your acting partner 110%, you are not doing your job. This is what we do. We show up, and that's what you're doing. And you have to continue to do that. And I was like, Ed Harris, I will listen to you. And that's like one of the best pieces of advice. And it was the beginning of my career. So I always show up for my acting partner. The camera's on me or not doesn't matter. We're all in this together. It's not about me and getting the perfect shot. It's about telling a story well. And when I can help the other person shine even more by being generous with them, then the whole thing is better. And the storytelling is better as a whole. And that's it. Yeah.
Wow. That is a great lesson. I remember when I was studying film at New York University, Jonathan Demme came in and spoke, and he said that the point you just made, that he would always mic his actors when they're off camera, and make sure that they brought their performance every time, because in his experience, that then gave the other actor something to work with, brought up their performance. So
I mean, you can. I mean, I've had moments where I'm like crying my eyes out and the person across from me is wearing their pajamas, like hasn't even bothered to put their wardrobe on, you know, or is reading off of their sides because they can't be bothered to learn their sides when they show up. You know, I will never do that. That's not a thing I will ever do. I will not leave my partner out to dry because it affects my performance. So if it's like, I know what it is on the receiving end of it. So I also know what it feels like when your acting partner is extremely generous. You get to shine. You get to look better than you did before. So like, come on, guys. It's so mad. I get
raise the bar.
Yeah,
Put
I
that
get
bar up.
fired up. I've gotten to do a couple get to lead a couple pilots in the last couple years, and the last one I did, I just set the tone by showing up without sides in my hand, without my script, and that was just like, so everybody did, and so we're all like, we know it. We're showing up to work. We're here, ready to go, ready to give it our all. You know, So
makes a huge difference. It really does set the bar where it needs to be. I shot a film.
Time. I mean, that's the other thing. It saves time, which that's like the greatest gift you can give to your crew is to show up prepared so that they can get home to their families, because they're working longer hours than you are every single day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, as you look back on your career, was there a particular role that you thought was the most challenging?
I've had like challenging aspects to, okay. I'll tell you about two really challenging moments on Grey's Anatomy, because there was this one moment where we had to span an entire year in one episode. And my character during that year had gone off to the front lines to be a medic in the middle of the war. And that after she had just lost her baby, and then she returned home like a different person. I had no time to create this new character after having played this person that I was familiar with for 8 years. And all of a sudden in the script, it's like, she's completely different. Okay. I remember I talked to people about PTSD. I talked to, experts who had been there and seen, I would put images in my head of like dead bodies, and like, I would calm my emotions down so that I was just delivering words instead of feeling things, which is what my character used to be. But I remember showing up on that first day shooting this new person, and I broke down in tears like 3 times just to be like, I don't know who I am. I am a completely different human, and I don't know how to create this human for you in absolutely no time. But it ended up working. I had a great director during that time, and it was great. And then the other really challenging moment that I had was my character lost a baby, and I was actually pregnant with my daughter Hannah while I was playing that storyline. And I had to shoot this scene when I was 8 months pregnant, where I have an induced termination because my baby has a terminal illness and is in pain in utero. And I make this horrifying decision to terminate when my character is pro-life, and like all this stuff is like agonizing, right? And I'm doing this while I'm really pregnant with my daughter. And I had to play this scene where I deliver the baby, hold the baby squeezes my finger, we baptize the baby, and then the baby dies. And it took 10 hours to shoot this whole sequence. And I went into premature labor the next day, 6 hours later. And my baby was born a month early, and she was in the NICU for 2 weeks. So that was challenging.
Oh my God.
That was agonizing. Yes. I did not know that I was doing that to myself when I agreed to play the storyline.
Wow. And how did you work through that?
Xanax. I had postpartum, and I had to get some medication for it. And it was really challenging. Kind of going, I feeling guilty that I had done this to my child. A lot of prayer. I wasn't really able to pray, but I had a lot of people praying for me in that moment. One of my friends was like, we always think that it's our job to take care of the baby that's inside of us. But sometimes, if we kind of exist outside of time and that baby always has been in the same way you always have been in some way, then like maybe that baby was taking care of you and helping you through it too. That was something really profound to like feel connected to her. Any way that I could get out of just the sheer anxiety of having made this choice that resulted in this situation.
So you felt like your performance in that moment led to your baby being...
Absolutely. There's no question.
Really?
There's no question. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
My body was triggered because I was playing,
Mm-hmm.
my character was in labor. So, and then I was traumatized. So my character was experiencing trauma, and your body chemistry doesn't know the difference. When you're in a scene and you're like fighting for your life, or you're being traumatized or brutalized, or you're screaming and running from a tiger or a killer or whatever, you are going in, all of those chemicals are being released in your body when you are fully imaginatively there, and then the acting partner and the whatever is coming at you. All of the stuff in your body happens for real. Your body doesn't know that this is an imaginary thing. It just does what it's trained to do.
Right.
My body went into this trauma reaction, and I went into labor.
Did you recognize that immediately, like when that happened? Or was it later that you looked back and realized that?
I pretty much realized it.
Wow.
I was in too much of just like, we didn't even have a room for the baby yet. Like we weren't ready, and there was no way. In fact, I went through a lot of labor just sitting at my desk doing taxes, and I kept getting up and like, and then I went in, they're like, you're having this baby right now. I'm like, we can't. And it was really when she was taken away from me after 5 minutes and I didn't get to see her again for hours. And then she was transferred to the NICU, and then I had to wait more hours to see her. That's when it kind of like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh, what I did at work made this happen.
Wow.
Yeah. And to be fair, like the writers gave me an out because I got pregnant after this storyline was planned. And I had actually pitched this storyline before I was pregnant because it had happened to friends of my parents. And so I was like, my character's husband was an atheist and my character was a Christian on the show. And I was like, this could be a really juicy storyline of like, how do they navigate this thing? And like, what do they decide to do? And then how does it affect their relationship? And there were so many things. And so I was like, well, I'm invested in this storyline that I pitched. I'm sure I'll be fine.
Right.
I didn't know. So yeah, it was intense. But there's a lot that's when my character went through a divorce. I remember my husband, after weeks of these agonizing episodes of just like misery in marriage falling apart, I would come home and I'd be like in this like dark cloud of sadness about it. And he, after a couple of weeks of just witnessing me not being able to shed what was happening on screen, he kind of like take my face in his hands. He's like, we are still married. We are okay. Your children love you. And everything is fine. Like, and I was like, I know. He's like, can I just talk to my wife? I'd really rather not talk to April tonight. I know you've had imaginary trauma all day, but if you could just release it so I could talk to you, that would be great.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing just hearing the deep process that you go through and how you have to be good about having boundaries and creating boundaries for that not to impact your real life. But that's
a challenge. That's a real challenge for me.
Yeah. And part of that comes out of being, you are very good at your craft And so that's like, because you're so good at drawing up those emotions and getting to that deep place, it's like, I can see how on the other side that creates other challenges, but yeah.
And the weird thing is that when I'm in the scene playing those epic feelings, I love it. I mean, it's like a drug to me because I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. So I don't know if any of you all know what the Enneagram is, but our currency is emotion. We love feeling very big things. And our downfall is that then we wrap ourselves up in the blanket of those emotions and forget to like remember what's objective. And we just get caught up in the subjective emotional, well, because I feel it, it must be true. So what I have to keep coming back to is the straight edge of objectivity and truth, which is what my husband was doing for me on that day. It's like, let's come back to truth. This is truth. Remember, I know you feel so many things right now, but that is not real. This is real,
Right. And that's like an everyday challenge for all of us because all of our emotions want to tell us what is true or not true. And it's like, but is there a deeper truth beneath that actually should be informing what we're doing, saying,
Yeah. And it is sometimes the subjective stuff is so much louder than the objective big T truth. So you have to practice returning to it. It's not a thing that you just easily go, oh, and especially for someone who like a 4 who feels things. Sometimes I find, especially like in my like spiritual relationship, my relationship with God, I'm like, well, if I'm not feeling something epic with God, that must mean that isn't the truth. But for me, the healthiest place I can be in is to return to that, even if I don't feel it, and to practice returning to it daily. Through prayer, through meditation, through yoga, through scripture, through friends, having conversations, like all that stuff, just like, and if I don't practice, I get lost. You have to surround yourself with truth tellers. You have to have a community of people in your life that you trust, that know you, truly know you for who you are, that you will continually go back to and listen to. So that when all this stuff spins and goes crazy in your brain, you can remember, you can go back and hear the truth. Because for me, the greatest challenge is the identity issue. It is this career messes with your identity in a really, really big way. So any way that you can stay grounded. And for me, that's been having truth tellers in my life.
Now, what about balancing being a parent and acting? What advice do you have? Like, what does that look like?
It's different all the time. I mean, the funny thing is, like, they always say, women can have it all, and they can, but you will always feel like you're slacking on something, right? So the best thing you can do is cut yourself some slack and give yourself a break. So just lay that out there at first. Don't try to be 100% of everything to everyone all at once. It's not possible. So, I've had seasons where I've been very, very busy, and then seasons where I've had to absolutely just been home and home and home and home and home. And I really want to get to work. So it really, and it's really about taking advantage of the times that you do have at home, but also giving yourself the peace and the breaks that you need to really feed yourself again, and to not feel guilty about self-care. Because you have to have self-care along with work, along with raising your kids. You have to do all of those things, or you'll burn out. What is success? Is success winning an Emmy? No. Is success being a star of a television show? No. Actually, success is being seen, known, and loved, and getting to offer that to other humans. So I think, once again, it's a practice. It is a daily practice to return back to the truth of your belovedness. And I think one really, really good way to do that when you're feeling discouraged is aggressive gratitude. keep a gratitude journal. And like, even if you don't feel happy or thankful about anything, just start writing down things you're thankful for. Just start writing them down and make a practice of it. And you will start to see there are so many blessings in your life. There are so many ways that you are beloved and valuable and worthy as you start writing those things down. Whatever the industry gives you or doesn't, it doesn't matter. It rolls off. It's not important. It's not important because it's a part of who you are, but it's not actually the depth of who you are. So there you go.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you. This podcast was sponsored by Navigating Hollywood, which provides tools for media professionals to lead emotionally and spiritually healthy lives. You can check out the courses for pre-marriage, marriage, and alpha and more at the website navigatinghollywood.org. Be sure to check it out. Thank you so much to Sarah. Thank you for sharing about your career, for being vulnerable, for what you've gone through in your life, and I loved hearing about your spiritual journey as well. For all of you listening, I look forward to connecting with you on the next podcast for Navigating Hollywood.